driven by mindset before. But she showed me her affirmations. She showed me the things that she did every day. And I thought to myself, that's the deal. That's what she does. And then she shows me her ninja tracker, and I see all of this business that she accumulates. And it's because, in large part, because she's got an incredible process and an incredible system. And for those of you that are new, it's possible that in your first year, and I'll just be honest with you, in my first year, I felt like I did pretty well being in my first year in the business. And a lot of that was because I got hooked up with Lynne, and she helped me out. But then after that, I got lazy. And I stopped doing the things that Lynne had talked to me about, and the things that Terry Johnson had taught, because I eventually went through the ninja installation as well. I got lazy, and I thought to myself, okay, this will just work. And I didn't have that process in the second year, and my business was down compared to my first. So what I learned in that moment is, okay, the system isn't just a revenue generation piece. That's not all that it is. What it really is a driver for consistency. It's easy to have a lucky year. What's difficult, and it doesn't have to be difficult, but what requires a system, I should say, is consistent business, consistent revenue generation, and doing it in a way that makes you feel healthy and makes you feel like you are making a difference for people in the world. And that's what it's all about for me. That's what it became all about for me. And Lynne played a great role in that. So I'm really excited for you to hear from her, really excited to hear from Cobey and from Erin. I think you guys are going to get a lot out of today. But I do think, and this will come up, you don't have to, I think that you should try to do everything and build your system. You don't have to try to do all of it at once, but kind of add in things incrementally. But the important thing is that you have a system, and that you have something that you do every single day to make sure that you are starting your day fresh, make sure that you're doing these things that are going to help you generate revenue and get you in a mindset to help people, and get you in a mindset to present, and get you in a mindset to get work done. And I think the Ninja 9 helps you do all of that. So without further ado, let's jump into talking to the panelists. They're who you really want to hear from.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Oh my gosh, that was so incredibly motivating. So here we go. We're going to go ahead and start the questions. And Alex is going to be, we're going to pick his brain because it sounds like he has figured out some of the formula also. So we will pick his brain through the process. To get started, mindset, we learned last week, is such a crucial piece to this puzzle. So I wanted to just touch base with our successful agents on board and find out what their business mindset is. So Lynne, could you share a little bit about your mindset and how you approach your business?
Well, I think the simplest way for me to explain what I do is just to show you what I do daily. And I don't know, but that is basically my mindset. I have been an agent for 13 years. 10 years ago, the company brought Terry Johnson in, and I then immediately hired her to coach me. And so accountability is really important in this process. But I just want to tell you, and it won't take too long, but every morning I get up and the first thing I do is I read my mastery. And I don't know if you can see it, but it's just the sheet that you can get off a KCH tape to spiral notebook. And then I do my affirmations and my gratitudes. And I actually write my affirmations, and it's really sloppy, but I write them at least 5 days a week. I always take a day off. So it's 5 to 6 times. And that is, and I've been doing this for years, and it's my affirmations about income, about how to live life. And they change every year a little bit, but always I have an income affirmation. And then at the bottom, I write I send my 2 notes to a day. And sometimes I get 10 done at least a week, but I always keep a record of that as well. And so that's what I do every morning. And then I try to read a book that's suggested. Right now, I'm reading a chapter a day on this book. And then when you get to your after I get that done, I look at my business tracker. And this has been the best gift to me. And this is what I do. And this is the one, I have this all on my computer, but I didn't know how to show it on my computer. So I printed it off, but this is really a key part of my business. It's got my closed, under contract, hot and active. And I keep this for every year. So I kind of keep a track of my people. And then I write, a list of who I'm going to call that day and who, make sure I get my 50 contacts in. And then every Monday, I come from a nonprofit background and ran a staff meeting every Monday morning. So I get teased by my husband. So I have a staff meeting with myself every Monday. And I do the Monday morning agenda. And in that way, I can report on here what I've done. And I'm sure all of you can get these, but it just talks about how did I run my business like a business. Here's who I wrote my notes to. And it's just a reflection. And currently I'm being coached by Gretchen Adams out of St. Louis, a ninja. And I send my business tractor and my Monday morning agenda to her every Monday. And so basically, that's how I do Ninja.
Wow. So Lynne, you have pretty much done everything in a nutshell for us. So if it's okay with everybody, let's take everything that she talked about and digest it and kind of go through it on a step-by-step. First and foremost, super impressive. And now I understand what Alex said. That's incredible. So your mindset is basically working the system. So some of these questions are not going to pertain to Lynne because she is doing the entire system, and which is amazing. So we are going to go ahead and get all different levels of ninjas to make sure that you understand that working the system does look different to different people. So thank you so much for sharing that. And we are going to get back to you and we're going to ask you to kind of dive into each of those pieces a little bit more so we can really get some tactical use of what you've said. So I'd like to just touch base with the two other of our agents that are on board and see if Cobey, you are a newer ninja. And so I know you took the class in January. How have you kept yourself motivated? What is your mindset for 2020? Especially during this extremely difficult time.
Okay. Good morning. I'm Cobey Cooper. Yes, last January I took the course, and it really, my first year, I guess, was okay for a first year, but the second year really changed. Everything tripled, and that's from implementing all the stuff that I learned in the class. The gratitudes and the affirmations have stayed solid with me, since the class. I'm also an early bird and get up and do all that stuff. I come to the office every day. As soon as the shutdown was over, I actually got a few clients. Some of them are still on the warm list, but I've already turned 2 transactions from people that I got on my warm list at the beginning of the shutdown. And just being available to people and reaching out to people. I was real good on notes at the beginning, and then my COI hasn't really increased much this year in 2020 because of the pandemic. But I've really worked hard on the ones that are in it and that could possibly turn into clients. So I've kind of I kind of felt like if I were them, would I get sick of getting stuff over and over and over through the year? And so I backed off. I do some social media stuff, and it's really not a whole lot, but it's something. And I just try to do positive, motivational, encouraging stuff on social media. And and then when I come to the office every day, I check the warm list and check the hot list, and then that's it for the day, really.
That's great.
We've been limited. I've been limited a little bit but like I said, just from doing those things, my contracts have tripled since 2019, and my volume has tripled since 2019.
Wow.
So, and that's just from, and I know I could do a whole lot more when we get back to, I guess, whatever's normal. So.
Well, that's great. Thank you. Wow, that's congratulations on a great year. And having Lynne Matile on board, I have a feeling you're going to do a lot more after we finish this workshop. I just wanted to ask a quick question. So we talked about gratitudes and affirmations. They are one of the Ninja 9 and such a crucial part, starting the day off on the right foot, being thankful and writing those affirmations. I wanted to ask Erin Peel. She shared with me an experience about affirmations, and I wanted her to share with the group because it was just so impressive. So Erin, would you share with me about, do you write affirmations and gratitudes every day? And how have this exercise changed your 2020?
So I don't do all the steps.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, Lynn's a rock star, but I do one
Wait.
through 5.
Can everybody hear her?
Oh, there's something wrong with my computer. Darn it. Hold on. Well,
Someone said switch your audio.
Yeah, click on the little caret next to the microphone and see if you can switch the microphone. Annie is on here and she knows I'm an expert on trying to figure out why in the world my microphone's not working.
So Erin, just to keep the process going, if it's okay with you. No, we cannot hear you still. Oh my gosh, this is awful. So maybe in the chat room, Annie can help you. Annie and Alex, could you help her with some suggestions? And I'm going to keep going just to ensure that we utilize our time really productively. And her story is worth hearing, so I'm really hoping that she is able to get back on. So that number 1 is gratitudes and affirmations. And we've heard that Cobey and both Lynne and Cobey, and I know that Erin also does this step. And it sounds like they've all created this habit of doing it. So let's talk about showing up. Number 2 is show up. Lynne has already shared this with us. I just want to reiterate what Lynne has said to us. She does a daily agenda for herself. She also has a staff meeting with herself. That's very, very impressive. So I wanted to find out if Erin, Alex, and Cobey also created agendas for themselves. And another question I wanted to ask them while we're answering this question is showing up. Do you go, when we can, do you guys go to the office? So let me ask Cobey. Cobey, do you do an agenda for yourself? And where do you conduct your business?
I do make an agenda for myself, usually the night before, and add on to it in the early morning for what needs to be done. And yes, I do come up to the office every day in the morning. And but so I do operate business from here and my house. Okay.
So that's your agenda and your habit. So Lynne, we definitely heard that you, wow, agenda, staff meeting, very impressive. Where do you conduct your business when we're able to go to an office? Do you go to the office?
Yes, I go to the office.
Do you set a time for yourself? Do you clock in your mind like a business?
Yes, I do. I usually get up at 6 and then 6:30 do my affirmations. And then part of this whole thing is to do coffees and lunches or contacts with people. And I know it's been more difficult with COVID, but sometimes I have coffee early and then I come to the office. But, I try to make sure I get 2 lunches or coffees or face-to-face touches with people that feel comfortable.
Wow. So I'm going to kind of refer back to Terry and the Ninja program. And we've learned that what you focus on expands. Lynn, could you give us an example of something in your business that has really flourished based on your affirmations or really your focus? Could you give us one example of one thing?
When I took the, and all of you that have taken Ninja, you do that worksheet where you estimate your income or your gross income. And that has been my affirmation from day one. And what I write there, I'd say 95% of the time, it ends up being that number at the end of the year.
Wow, that's impressive. Thank you. And it works, huh?
Mhm.
That's great. So Alex, I'm going to kind of bring you into this just because while we're waiting for Erin. And Alex, with your successful business, did you find that when you focused on one item, it expanded? And could you give us an example of something that you've done? And sorry, I'm putting you on the spot. I hope that's
It's okay. I'm on the phone with Erin. I'm trying to get her working.
Then I'll get back to you. Okay, so I'm going to actually go to the chat room because I'm already seeing quite a bit of interest in chats. And we have a question from Becky. Lynn, can you give us an example of a topic for notes and phone calls? Oh, she's ahead of us. I'm going to ask that question later. So let's go ahead and ask it now. Lynn, can you give us an example of topics for notes and phone calls? I think probably Becky thinks that she's been doing it for so long, it kind of gets old.
Well, one thing I do is I keep I 2 big boxes of cards, and birthday cards, get well, thinking of you, sympathy cards. It looks like I have a small Hallmark store, and I get them at I get those $2 cards, and I always have them. I also always have tons of stamps, and so I'm always prepared. And what I do is I use Top Producer for my COI list, and I have them grouped as to A group, B group, and C group, and that you get trained that in Ninja. But I can record people's, if it comes up that somebody's birthday's that day, or if I hear somebody's sick, I just write a note to them. And, like if somebody, like one of my friends just got a new job, so I sent him a card. I'm not a real big Facebook girl, but it's really good to find out what people in your sphere are doing. And so that's a lot of times I find birthdays there, or you find out one of their child broke their arm or something like that. And I just take note of that and write a note.
Well, that's great. So you guys are just amazing, and you're helping me work through this process because we were just about to talk about the next Ninja 9, which is handwriting notes. And it is such a crucial step, and it's very impactful. I think she mentioned that it was very powerful is the word she uses. Lynn just mentioned Facebook. And please put it in the chat box if anybody has any other suggestions. But other than Facebook, Cobey, do you have any other sources for finding out who to write notes for?
Not really. I kind of like Lynn, I cheat and use Facebook to find out people's birthdays and find out things going on in people's lives. And I do send some notes off of that also, and maybe some Instagram.
Okay. Instagram. I also find that LinkedIn has really helped me, especially with work anniversaries and new jobs. So I wanted to share that. And please, anybody who has any additional ideas to put them in.
Another, and I think it's, I have a copy of it, but years ago, and I know it's kind of old fashioned, I sent a survey with the self-stamped envelope to my clients, and I was shocked how many I got back.
Wow. So I've heard that idea numerous times. Did you have an incentive to get the response, like a drawing? You just got great response. Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I wanted to share an idea that we had in the chat box, which I find it very funny because I was just talking to somebody about this yesterday. make sure that you have your calendar is subscribed to your Facebook, so you can get your birthdays automatically on the calendars. And we were talking about this yesterday. Sometimes people are like, I don't even know how I have it, but it's already set up. But definitely make sure that your Facebook is, you subscribe to your Facebook, so it automatically is there. I have Tina said, I find out stuff that's happening for my kids about their friends' parents, often already friends or acquaintances of mine. So she uses their children, which is a great way because you're going to learn so much what's going on in the community and what's happening. So it's a great way of finding out. Terrific. Well, thank you so much for sharing all that information. Oops.
Beck, I'm back now.
Oh, you are? Okay,
Hopefully,
great.
I had Erin call in, so hopefully she'll be on soon.
Okay, terrific. So thank you so much, Alex. Alex, I think I caught up on most of the questions on the chat box. So the next Ninja 9 we're going to talk about is the tracker. And I want to make sure that first and foremost, we understand that the tracker is such a crucial piece of it. So we're going to really dive in for a minute, and then we're going to talk about this even further on Friday during the tools workshop. So I have to point Lynne out again. So Lynne, we love that Terry Johnson used your tracker in the presentation in best practices in I think it was 2015.
Mhm.
Now in 2021, do you still use it the same way as you did then?
Yes.
And can you share a little bit more about the technique, the tactics? Do you keep it on your computer? We'd love to like know your system for that, because if people get overwhelmed with the tracker.
The tracker has probably been the key thing to me that I really use it year in and year out. And I have it on my computer, but I still am a paper girl, and I have it on my desk all the time. And that when I'm planning my day, I look at it. What do I need to do for this, and all of this. And I have changed it up a little bit, and you can do that because the form doesn't, they keep changing it. But what I did was my closed, under contract, and then hot and active. My hot and active, I define that by everything that I have listed or buyers that I'm working with. And that's what I have here. And then down here, I have hot but confused. And these are people that, let you know that they might be going to put their house on the market in May. So that's who my hot and confused are. And then my warm prospects, I have a hard time with warm prospects because the Ninja system are people that you are looking at your COI, like, maybe they're having a baby, so they might be upgrading their house, or maybe, they're having a life change. Well, I have a hard time with that, and I'm trying to improve on that. But how I've always used a warm prospect is if I have, like, I had a client tell me that in 2 years they want to move back to the Blue Valley School District. So I put them on my warm list. So I just basically on my warm list up here is going to be people that mention to me in the future they want something or want to change. And so what I need to do better at is go through my COI and write down people that I think might be, have a baby and need a bigger house and that kind of thing. But that's where I need to improve.
So Lynne, thank you for that great information. And we are going to discuss trackers further on Friday, but in the chat box, they kind of wanted you to hold up in front of your camera. Could you just take a minute and just hold up your tracker and point out? See, it's going to be very difficult. Hold it up a little bit higher, but just so they see it. This is the tracker that she gets, and this will be provided to you, and it's in the Ninja training.
And the other, if anybody knows me, I just think if you do these, I don't really worry about the money. If you do the right things, money will follow is my attitude. And so some people get all bent out of shape on this commission item. I don't change it. I just leave it at 3% and I don't really care. that if somebody's really into numbers, it does tell you your goals at the back, but I don't pay attention to that very well.
You work the system and it works. That's great. So we will talk about actually the tracker in depth on Friday. So I guess the key to learn from Lynne is you have to use it. It does not do any good to your business if you do not use it.
The one thing, what happened when I was starting to get busy was I'd forget somebody. And so this way you don't forget anybody.
So just out of curiosity, just kind of get an understanding, you like it on your desk in paper, as you mentioned, and in this climate that we're kind of home more so, do you reference it more than 1 or 2 times a day, or do you?
I do it basically in the morning when I get in my list, my block in my time.
Okay.
I do it more in the morning.
That's great. So we talked about this last week. So Lynne blocks her time, and that's a really great technique in creating an agenda. So thank you very much. So this question I think is going to really be for new agents and agents that really want to get a kickstart to their business. And the hot and warm list is crucial to achieving your goals. And as Lynne mentioned, she just does the system and it works out. I'm going to ask the panel if there's any advice for agents on how to grow their business and actually have a hot and warm list. So Lynne, I'm going to work with you since we just left with you. For newer agents, how do you even start a hot list and a warm list? What would you do if you were starting at ground zero? What advice would you give?
The main thing I would do is work on a really good COI list. And back when I was doing that COI list, I was trained that you have like 12 people in your world that are your best, honest, trust you and all that kind of thing. And so I have those 12 people, identified them, and I call them A's. And then you got a next circle and then a next circle. And I really believe that you just kind of you really do not need to think too hard. Just put these people in your COI. And but you do have to have a relationship with them in some way, because what you'll learn is that some people that you think are really going to use you, like your best friend, they won't. And but then somebody comes out of the blue that you don't even know hardly and will use you. So it all works out. So just don't overthink your COI list. Just do the best you can. But also you need to look at it frequently to keep it up to date. And so that's basically how I would recommend. And then from that COI list, you look at it and then you figure out your closed, then you figure out your business tracker.
Well, thank you so much, Lynne. I love that. I just want to emphasize what she just said because somebody asked about COI in the chat box. Lynne is extremely successful, and she said start with 12. Sometimes we overwhelm ourselves and we start getting all the directories from our kids' school. We get all of the directories from our neighborhood, and we have an incredibly large list. And you really need to start with a small list that she said of 12. I'm going to switch to the different panelists. I wanted to find out if you would, Erin, could you share with us about your COI? I know you have a strong business, and what does your COI look like? How many people do you have on it? I hope you're there.
Does anybody know what you press on a Zoom call to unmute yourself? I don't remember. Is it 3? Is it 7?
Spacebar.
Oh, let me see. Do I need that?
Greg?
Spacebar.
Spacebar. Well, but she's on her phone.
So I wonder.
No.
Okay, I'm gonna just check to see if I need to.
She needs to touch down at the bottom of her phone and it'll have a mute and start video, and they're either uncrossed or crossed if they're off or on.
She's on a phone call. Give me 1 second. I'll look at.
I'm on a phone call. You just touch the bottom of your screen and you've got mute or unmute, start video, and those you just uncross them or cross them.
To unmute Erin, press 6. No, try 9.
Okay. All right. Well,
All
I
right,
don't.
sorry.
Okay, I apologize. So Cobey. So Cobey has been in the business for 2 years now. And I have actually watched him have some incredible success over the last 2 years. So Cobey, could you share with us about your COI?
Well, it started very small. Before I got into real estate, I was never on social media and thought I could do it without social media, but I was reminded and told pretty directly that, you need to get on social media. You don't exist, is what I was told. So I started, reaching out to people, and with the list that I had, I just, I from the training classes here at our office, I started doing, just some of the forward calls and asking people, about themselves and their families, and asking information about significant dates or all that stuff. And then really during the shutdown, I took a lot of time to try to get more information to add to those contacts. So I know moving forward. I was kind of useful in that aspect on my COI, and then really just staying in touch with people and letting them know, not that I'm in real estate, but that I'm around. And that's certainly brought some business. And then, and then word of mouth has traveled a little bit. And I think 2 out of my last 3 contracts have been from friend referrals. Just, oh yeah, Cobey's in real estate, why don't you call him? And it turned out really smooth. So
That's great. Well, I am persistent, if nothing else. I'm going to try Erin one more time. Erin, so we wanted to find out about your COI.
Okay, can you hear me now, people?
Yay! Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Oh my gosh, now I'm all flustered, and how embarrassing. I don't know what the problem is. So, okay, so here we are. I don't even know. What was the question? How many people are in my COI?
So first of all, deep breath. We're so glad that you're on now. And we wanted to find out, Lynne mentioned that she suggests starting small. So we wanted to find out how many are on your COI, and how do you work your COI, and what do you suggest for people who are just starting out in the business?
Well, I only have about 150 on my COI, and I don't know what is the ninja way as far as COI, how many you should have, but I clean mine out. My goal is not to collect a lot of people in it. So I think I have about 150, but every year I take people out of it who maybe I don't know, or I don't have, contact with really at all, or they were randoms I met. I don't know. I don't really do open houses, but randoms I met, along the way, I just kind of take them out. So that's what I have in my COI. As far as the other question you asked me, well, I'll let you go ahead and tell me what you wanted to ask me next. I was going to talk about the affirmations. Did you want me to talk about that, or have you moved on from that?
So can we hold off on that, and we'll get to that because I want to make sure we keep on track. We have 20 minutes left, and we still have quite a bit to go over. So
keep going. Yeah.
The next Ninja 9 is calling, making those calls.
I don't mean to interrupt, but I want to clarify my COI list, okay?
Oh, yes. You started out with 12.
I started out with, no, I've always had 200 plus my COI list, but I had my 12 of really people I knew. Then I got the next group and the next group. But even the first year I did a COI list, I had at least 200.
Oh, wow.
But everybody in my list, I know. Okay.
And there's a smaller group that you really, really massage and focus.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I just want to clarify that.
Yeah.
Right. And just to clarify, absolutely. So for the new people starting out, having 12 people is great. It's because it's very overwhelming to hear it took a massage to work. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that I have 12 people that I know, trust, and I really work that group. but then I get more people and then more people. And then that's just how I do it. But I always have 200 and right now I have 450 people on my list.
Wow.
But I'm just saying, you always need a core support group. And those are the people I really touch a lot. But then I got another group that is a B group and then a C group. Okay.
Great. Thank you for the clarification. I
Okay.
appreciate that. So the Ford, the 5 steps of selling is salutation, Ford, purpose for call, then Ford again, 2 to 3 minutes. So out of curiosity, since we just talked to Lynne, people are so nervous when they're making that call. And then once you get on the call, you start talking forever. How do you ensure that you get off the phone call in 2 to 3 minutes? Do you have some techniques to teach people?
I guess experience. I just think you need to call from the heart and not be a telemarketer, and be sincere and caring. That's how I do it.
That's great. Thank you. So we want to move on to the real estate reviews. I don't know about anybody else on the call, but that sometimes gets overwhelming to me because I spend so much time preparing for it. But Terry says it should take about 5 minutes to prepare. If I could ask Erin, what format do you use for your reviews?
So as far as the reviews go, what I do, I don't know if I do it the Terry way, but I set up my reviews as each year that somebody's been in their house, that their anniversary year, I go ahead and either email or print off all the homes that have sold in their neighborhood over the last year and just put a note in and drop it in the mail. I know they want you to get in front of people, and that's probably the better way to do it. But with COVID and all of that, that really isn't something that we're doing right now. But I just send out, a note to them with the listings that have sold in their neighborhood, so they can kind of see how their property values have been improving.
Oh, wow. Great. So Lynne, could you share with us how you do it? I know that you mentioned that face-to-face is so important, and COVID probably has changed that a little bit, but could you share with us your real estate review process?
That's probably one of the weakest Ninja 9s that I have. And because, I have it in that each year I try to get that more into my system, but they are more effective when you go face-to-face on them. And I also, when I'm out to lunch with somebody, I just happen to have a sheet of, exactly what Erin said of what's sold in their neighborhood. But I work a market that there's no neighborhoods. And so I have to do, a bigger search, but that's what I do. And people seem to appreciate it.
Wow.
It helps when the market's going up.
Right.
I really think that the real estate reviews can be one of the, I think that with Cloud CMA and with a couple of other tools that you have at your disposal, real estate reviews can be one of the easiest things to get put together and knock out quickly. And it can be a huge value that you're providing to your client. You figure you've got it's like giving them an account statement. You're providing value, and it's something that they want. You're giving them information that they want. And I think that Cloud CMA does a great job of that. You can pick just a few pages to give them just a quick and dirty glimpse of it, and it's worthwhile.
Yeah.
That's great. So just to make sure I point out, on Friday at our 12 o'clock tools workshop, we are going to be going over not only the tracker, but we are going to be going over how to do a quick CMA. So thank you for your help on that, and thank you for the great idea.
Marion just put in the chat that she sends out about 10 real estate reviews per week.
Wow. And then she does them to her subdivision or?
No, to her COI.
COI.
Or COI.
Okay.
I just want to clarify, I do not farm communities.
Oh, you do not?
Do not.
Did you ever try and find that not to be useful?
I I just always think with the Ninja way is relationships. You need to know who you're working with.
Okay, great. Thank you for that insight. So thank you so much, Alex. Definitely, it's such it's so valuable to provide that to your clients. Does anybody else have any items of value that they use in the Ninja 9 that they provide to their clients? Cobey, do you do any other items of value? I know you do Instagram. Do you provide any other tools that would be helpful to share?
Not really. Nothing that hasn't already been discussed.
Okay.
One thing I use is I send out the BHG magazine that has your name on it, and that really is only a little over $1 a month per client, which is not much more than a postcard. And I send that to my entire COI list.
Wow.
And that gets shelf and happy. So then I do a quarterly newsletter that I design, and so that takes care of 4 of my months on the 2, and then I just put postcards or do other things for my second mailing.
Well, Lynn, while we've got you and you're just providing such great value and insight, do you do emails? Do you have any drip campaign set up?
No.
Okay.
I get too many emails, and so when I look at marketing, I wanted, nobody gets mailings anymore, so I'm kind of old fashioned. Because you know, I do I try to do my business, keep my Facebook up to date, but I don't do any drip campaigns.
So no emails. Wow, that's great. And the newsletter, you send it out quarterly. I just wanted to confirm.
Yes. Yes.
Wow, that's great. So
maybe, and Beck, maybe you asked this while I was helping with Erin, but Lynn, how much time do you spend executing all of these things, do you think, in a week? What is your time spent?
Probably about an hour a day.
Yeah, and that's all that it can take because you're busy showing property and getting things done during the rest of the day.
Yeah,
so we're not talking about a large investment of time here. I mean, it's significant, but it's figuring out how to do it in an efficient way and getting your processes down so you can knock it out in an hour. Because if you're doing it the way that she does it, you're not gonna have time for it to take 5 hours of your day. I mean, it just isn't gonna work that way. So I just wanted to make sure you knew it's not like she is in here just doing this stuff for 4 hours. You know, that's not the deal.
And the deal is you just need to do something and don't overthink it, and just be persistent with it. You can improve, but don't worry about screwing up.
That is great advice. So Lynn, people are very interested in what you've shared with us. So Stacy would like to know what you include in your newsletter.
I subscribe to Keeping Current Matters, which is a really good resource, and that's where I get all my articles. People know that I like to cook, so a lot of real estate people say you shouldn't do recipes, but I always have a recipe, and people do that. And then the other thing, there's always a hidden house in here, and so I give away 5 gift certificates every quarter to people that find the house. And then inside, I keep all my quarterly, what's active, what's sold for the last quarter in that. And I learned this from a very successful agent back when I was not an agent, and she put this on the back of her flyer. So I got that idea from her. Okay. And she's not with our company, but she's still one of the #1 agents in the city.
That's amazing. So let's dig in a little bit more, because you said that you only spend about an hour a day with your systems. So do you have your newsletter set up? How do you have it set up to go out? Who is?
I hire a graphic. What I do is I send, it takes me probably half hour. I figure out the articles I want, and I sending my listings and my recipe to my graphic artist that sets it up for me, and then he mails it, and I send him my current COI list, and he mails it for me.
Wow, that's great. Sounds like money well spent. So back to the calls. So one of the items is having active interviews with 50 a week. The question I have for the panel is, do you ever find it difficult to make your calls and get the 50 calls in each week? And any tips on how to incorporate those touches in the week while balancing your real estate functions? Because we did talk about that. When you work the system, you get so busy. So do you block times for your calls, or how do you incorporate your calls into your busy week? And I'll ask Lynn, since she's on my screen and she's been so helpful.
Well, I might cheat a little bit because I count face to face. Like if I see somebody at the grocery store or at Costco, I count that as a phone call. So, you know, and you know, that's just how I do it. But no, I just kind of go through the day, and somebody might come to mind and I call them, you know, I'm driving around or whatever. And I just kind of think about, who do I need to talk to today? And that's who I call. I have no set system. I just get my gut, who needs a phone call.
That's great.
What I've told my, and maybe this is totally not correct, but what I've started telling people, to Lynn's point, if you bump into somebody and you're able to have a conversation with them, that counts. I feel like no matter what the medium is, if you have a conversation with them and it results in a forward conversation where you're talking about family, occupation, recreation, dreams, I don't think it matters if the conversation is via text. If you have engagement and you're having that conversation, I think that can count as a touch, as one of your 50 touches. And that's what I've been telling my folks. I
agree totally with Alex.
That's great. I agree with great insight. And yes, so text does count.
As long as they respond, they have to respond. Shooting somebody a text, that doesn't do anything. The only way that it actually works is if there's engagement. So, you know, if you're somebody that can't make 50 calls because it gives you some kind of anxiety, I get that. Find another way to do it. Make your touches, have engagement, have forward questions responded to.
Well, thank you very much. So moving on to working your database, which is at COI, and Terry's suggestion is to review your database all the time. I'd like to ask you guys, what system do you use? Erin, what database system do you use when running your business?
I just use Excel spreadsheet or Google Sheets.
Okay.
So just put them in there in a spreadsheet.
And then just keep watching it and reviewing it?
I mean, I don't spend like a whole lot of time reviewing it, but yeah, I mean, I just kind of weed it out every year, and just because if you're sending out mailers, I just don't want to waste money sending it to people that maybe are not somebody who I think is going to use me. I'd rather spend more money on my people that I need to love on, and you know, and do it that way.
Thank you. Cobey, what database system do you use?
Excel.
Excel.
And I've added to it, you know, during the pandemic, but that it's still growing. So being a newer agent, it you know, it started very, very small. So I'm over 140 now, at least. So
that's good.
So, and Lynn, what do you use a database system? And if so, what do you
use? Top Producer.
Top Producer. Thank you for sharing. Gosh, there's so many great questions, and this is something that I want to make sure that we stay on track on time. And the Ninja selling system, and especially Terry, they point out so many different books for us to read. And I asked this question of my panel last week, and I was wondering if you guys would share, if you could give one book that you've read that really helped you with mindset or with your business. Do you have one book that you could share that you'd recommend to our audience? Lynn, I'll start with you.
Well, right now I'm enjoying my current book. I'm reading that Atomic Habits. That's what I'm enjoying right now.
That was the big winner last week. Cobey, is there any other books that you've read this year that you'd recommend?
I'm about halfway through a book called Good to Great by Jim Collins.
Is it great?
So far, yeah.
Okay. You'd recommend it? That's great. And Erin, is there any book that you'd recommend?
Beck, you're asking me all the questions for all the parts of Ninja that I don't really do. So no, I don't have a book. I have a couple on hold at the library that Terry had mentioned that I'm just waiting for my turn. So I don't really have a book that I use, but one thing that I just wanted to mention that has helped me a whole lot with Ninja is their planner. And I just want to show you guys, I don't know, they gave us one last year in the class, and I felt like it was such a great resource that I went and bought it again. And I use Google Calendar like everybody else, but I have to tell you guys, this planner, if anybody has any questions about it, it's really thick, but it has all of like places where you put down how many, who you're going to send note cards to, and you write down your 54 and all of that. That for me, I guess it's a book, but that would be what's most helpful for me because it keeps me on track with Ninja.
Well, that's great. So I spoke with another Ninja, Becky from another office, and she highly suggests the planner too. And we're going to have her on in another week. So thank you for that great input. Alex, coming from a agent and broker, do you have any current books that you would suggest other than the Atomic Habits? Whew.
Sure. So I've got the audiobook for Atomic Habits. Last week, or maybe I guess it was now 2 weeks ago, Terry made reference to Outwitting the Devil, and I am in the middle of listening to that one too. I will tell you that I don't drive as much as I used to, so it takes me a lot longer to get through these audiobooks. You agents, you know what it's like. You're in the car a lot. And now all of a sudden, I'm not in the car nearly as much as I used to be, so it's a little harder for me to get through that. The other one that I'm reading right now and I know that all the management team read this because I remember when Daryl was reading it, and I had read it before too, but it's a short little storybook style called Together is Better by Simon Sinek, and it's fantastic. I think it sums up a lot of what he has to say in a really kind of storytelling sort of a style. I'm a fan of it, and it's been some really good reminders here in the last few months. So I strongly recommend that one too.
Well, that's great. Thank you very much for sharing. We have gone over so many things about the Ninja 9. It's definitely something that I think everybody should revisit. And some people feel like you need to just dive in and make sure you do the Ninja 9. Terry gave me the suggestion, implement 3, master them, implement the next 3, master it. Take your time getting it done, but the system does work. I'm going to ask in closing, thank you so much to our panel. And I feel like I don't know about anybody else, but I feel like I could sit here and ask Lynne questions for about 3 hours, and a great insight on how she's done with her business. 2 quick things before we close. I know we're hitting up to the hour. I have a request from Erin if she would share her affirmation story. Do you have a second to share the affirmation story that we were going to try to get in earlier?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So, hi, Daly. That was cute that you wanted to hear that. So last year, I brought my little planner here. They gave us this at the class last year, and they told us to do our affirmations and fill out something what your goal was, and mine was income. They kind of told us, make it income. You enjoy earning blank by, and then put the year. And they don't say, I want to make this. You say, I enjoy earning, so that you can kind of visualize what you're going to do with those things. Take your family on a trip or, whatever. So you can visualization. But I started that. I took the class last January, and I started that, and I did it every day. And then COVID hit. And I thought, oh my gosh, I got to change my goal. Like, there's no way. We're in a pandemic. And I just kept writing that out. And so then I put it way down. And then we just kept working through COVID. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to make my goal. And I just literally every day I would write that down. And literally at the end of this year, my income was exactly within $1,000 of what I had written in January for my goal. So I just tell you guys, just write it down and do it every single day. And I was joking with my husband. I showed him, I didn't even tell him I was writing this down, and I showed it to him at, the end of the year. I said, look, this is exactly what I made. And I said, this year I'm going to write, I enjoy earning $2 million a year, because if it comes true, I'm just going to do it. But I would strongly encourage you guys to do the affirmations, because it really does set the tone for your day. And when people want to go and look at a house or do something, instead of feeling like it's an intrusion or, oh, I don't want to go and do that, you're thinking, nope, I'm trying to get to that goal. I will go out there and, you know, do this and be happy about it because I'm trying to get to my goal. So it just helps keep me motivated.
Well, that's great. So I first and foremost want to say thank you to everybody who needs to jump off. I want to be respectful of time. I know that there's so many more questions we want to ask, and the brokers are always really supportive and helpful and are here for you on that. Please join us on Friday to further discuss the tracker questions that we didn't get answered today, and also discuss doing a quick CMA. Wow, it's been a difficult call. But if it's okay, some people may stay on, because a few more people would like to hear from Erin. I have another question from Erin from the chat room. So thank you to everybody who needs to jump off. There's a Matrix X training starting now. But the question I have for Erin is, I'd also like to hear from Erin, what parts of Ninja besides affirmations have you incorporated in this last year that really, I mean, you've done such a phenomenal job with increasing your year and making your goals. What else have you incorporated?
So every 5 days a week, I do the top 5. And this was already something I was kind of doing, but really the Ninja, just naturally, but the Ninja program really put it into a system for me and have a name and more purpose for all of these. And so I always do my gratitudes every morning. I do the affirmations every morning. And then I try to do 2 personal notes. Sometimes I can't think of enough people to send them to, but I do the personal notes. And every single morning, sometimes twice a day, I do my hot list and my warm list. And I agree with Lynn. That is just really, I used to do little note cards, like recipe cards kind of thing, note cards, where I'd write down like who I thought was going to buy a house soon and what they were going to spend. But the spreadsheet, if you guys haven't done that they sent out to us, I strongly, if that's the one thing you're going to do, put your potential buyers, sellers into that spreadsheet. That I would strongly recommend that. But yeah, I pretty much do the top 5 days a week.
Wow, that's great. So it becomes a habit. Before everybody started, I started researching like just the definition of habit, just so to share with you. We had so much great information that we didn't get to a lot of things, but habit is something that you just do without thinking. And it sounds like our top Ninja producers have a lot of habits that are really successful. So thank you for everybody for joining in. Next week, we are going to have a great workshop about database. We get lots of questions about what database to use. So we're going to be talking about database, and it sounds like a spreadsheet works for a lot of people. Thank you so much for all of your input and great help. Lynn, Cobey, and Erin, and especially Alex for pitching in. Thank you so much for everything. Have a great day.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Sorry about my tech issues.
Oh, no problems.